Ready.
Boss, I got a certified savage. Like, thank you. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate your time so much.
No,
And
thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
mate, you're literally at a certified savage.
Thank you.
For people that don't have a clue who you are, do you want to give a brief introduction because it's going to be a lot better than I will.
Of course, I can do that. Yes. My name is Maggie Grindatti. I am originally from Maine, and now I reside in Miami. Fight sports is actually what brought me to Miami. Jiu-Jitsu is what brought me to Miami. I'm a seven-time world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was able to conquer world titles in gi and no gi at all of the colored belts. I currently have a black belt title for Europeans, a third place at Worlds, a second place at Pan. So we're working on the big major titles, focusing a little bit more on the no-gi now. I also own my own strength and conditioning company called Champion Fit, which a lot of the top athletes in our sport around the world use for their strength and conditioning. On top of that, I train other athletes. I have a rugby team, like rowers, foot volley players. So I'm really specific with athletes with my strength and conditioning. And yeah, that's basic fitness, and jujitsu is my life.
Absolutely crazy. As you do, seven-time world champ. Whatever. Brush it off. No problem.
Brush
Next
up.
thing, please.
On to the next one.
Absolutely crazy. I'm super fascinated to hear um what's the biggest thing like you've learned physically through doing jujitsu and then also mentally through
Right.
doing jujitsu. Martial arts is something I've never done. Well, I maybe pissed around a little bit with kickboxing right young as a
Right.
kid.
Everybody's done a little punching and kicking.
Whatever. But I mean, in Manchester, it's mainly boxing. It's a pretty rough side of the country. So you know, boxing is quite a poor man's sport. Jiu-jitsu, not
Yeah.
necessarily, because it's anyone can tell you how to punch, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I think physically, you can't ever stop.
Mm.
And that doesn't just mean on the mats, because sometimes we get injured, sometimes we take some time off. But I just mean physically in life, you can't stop. There's a lot of times, like if people get injured or they take time off, they'll stop not only jujitsu, but working out altogether. And then when you come back, maybe you won't get injured, but you're more likely to wear your body down over time and have those like long-term overuse injuries. So
Yeah.
like one of like the most important things, especially with jujitsu being something that you can kind of do forever, the most important thing is not to stop. Of course, listen to your body, but that might mean, okay, let me work out today or do yoga or recovery or stretch instead of testing my body against somebody else's body. But stopping is where people lose it. And I think that that's in life in general, right? Like even people who retire and kind of just want to live their lives, like you see them kind of losing themselves too because they stopped. I think everything in life, and that's what jujitsu teaches us too, is like the life things too, is you can't ever stop. Mentally, it's just being, it's so cliche, but being comfortable when you're uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I think cliche, I'm like the most basic like white girl you'll ever meet. I love cliches because I'm like, guys, they're cliches for a reason,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like get uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations and vice versa. Again, with the whole on the mat, off the mat, jujitsu, even though it's like uncomfort in a sense, someone is sitting on top of my head and I can't get out, it will make you comfortable in uncomfortable situations off the mat too. So
Mhm.
I think that's the mental part, is like not only on the mat being uncomfortable, but also off the mat being uncomfortable and knowing how to deal with it and knowing that you're going to be okay and knowing that it's not the end of the world and embracing uncomfort. I
Mm.
think that's the biggest like mental side of it.
Yeah, there's something to be said about self-suffering, right?
Yes.
I think there's so much benefit to it. I think you got to do something that kind of kicks you in the face every day, even if it's like I'm just gonna go walk around the house. three
Whatever it
times.
is, yeah,
Because intensity
for
is
sure.
relative, right? Like I'm not a 7-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, so I'm not gonna just get on that mat and start like throwing motherfuckers around, right? But if I run up and down the stairs a couple of times, like my heart rate's gonna be jacked, and it's gonna be like, okay, cool, like I've done something that's put me in an uncomfortable
Right.
position today, right?
100%.
It kind of pulls out those demons, as you will, of yourself, and you kind of come face to face with them, right? And you're like, okay, now I know what color your eyes are. What we're gonna do? Like, are we gonna run away? Are we gonna
Mhm.
cower away and just kind of let them win, or are we just gonna slap them in the
Right.
face and say, "I'm the
Right.
boss"?
Another cliche, you're your biggest competition, right?
Yeah, there we
Look in
go.
the mirror, all of those. Like, if people just live their life off of cliches, life really is kind of simple.
Hell yeah.
But we push away from cliches and it's like, well, why?
Mm.
Kind of a guide of how to get through life.
So you mentioned a rugby team, right?
Yes.
Do you coach them jujitsu specifically, or is it S&C stuff?
No, I'm their strength and conditioning coach.
Wow. See, that was my sport.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. So, what do you take those guys through, or ladies through?
They actually do a really similar workout that we do in jiu-jitsu, because that are I have guys really that are 145 pounds to 275 pounds at jiu-jitsu that I train, and they all move the same.
Mm.
I'm a big believer in everybody is made to be athletic. We just limit ourselves from doing so.
Mm.
So the type of strength and conditioning that I do is more so about muscle endurance, right? And of course, with rugby being an 80 minute match, that's endurance, and it's not always just about how strong you are, but it's how long your strength lasts for. And so it was a really easy transition for me to take on the rugby team because besides they have to be on their feet a little bit more, I have to do a lot more footwork, a lot more speed drills kind of, but a lot of it is very, very similar. A lot of the hip control, a lot of the muscle endurance strength, a lot of the explosive power, a lot of obviously takedowns and wrestling, so it's really cool to see my 230 to 270 pound jiu-jitsu guys doing similar workouts. And it's funny because the rugby guys, they're not as flexible, they're not as limber, as mobile as my jiu-jitsu athletes are, and a lot of them will blame it on size because you doing rugby, like those are some big boys. And I show them, my jiu-jitsu athletes who are um Cyborg, for instance, who's 240 pounds and he moves like a lightweight. I'm like, you guys need to move like he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being strong, it's about how you move. So realistically, like my strength and conditioning, it's not jujitsu specific, it's sport specific.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had one of my rugby players this last night come up to me and he's like, this is off topic, but my golf swing is amazing right now, So it's like everything I do is for your body. I try to target every single little muscle that doesn't get target with like your basic, whether it's just strength training or conditioning. I do things very, very differently. And if you ask any of my athletes, like none of them have done the same workout twice.
Mm.
Because I think that's really important too. Again, when I talk about never stopping and longevity, you can't get bored with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's hundreds of muscles in our body. It's like you have to do all these different weird types of things to get them firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool, actually, the comparisons, besides the running part, of course, between rugby and jiu-jitsu. So it's been an easy transition and it's really cool. And it's really cool to see their progress because it happens very quickly.
Mm. For someone who's like kind of a student to the game of coaching and fitness as an art form, right? I see jujitsu and S&C specific for rugby training going hand in hand because I'm like, this is multi-dimensional and so is the game of rugby, right? Like we get in the gym, we might do, I don't know, OHP, SBD, whatever the fuck we do, right? And you're like, okay, great,
Right.
we're moving something, we're getting stronger. Yeah, no problem. We might be working on power again, fantastic. But it's like you're going to get smashed in every dimension possible. And then you're going to try and step people and throw in arms everywhere. And something that
It's
I would like to
crazy.
know, it's
Rugby's
mental, right?
crazy.
I love it though. It's
Holy crap. Yeah. Actually, the rugby coach just had me watch the documentary of the All Blacks.
oh, is that on what is that on?
I watched
Amazon
it on
Prime.
Prime. I
Yeah.
forget what it was called, but oh my gosh. I was
Yeah.
like, I love it though. Like it's crazy, but I love it. But it's super dangerous, you know? And that's the importance of the strength and conditioning too, is I'm like, guys, you guys are getting hit from every angle. You're getting stepped on. You're getting, if every single muscle in your body isn't reacting the way it should, or as quickly as it should, or as strong as it should, there's no way you're not going to get hurt,
Hmm.
you know? And it's not just about not getting hurt because you're going to get hurt, you know, but it's about your body being prepared for injury as well. That's something I'm super like big on, is like, guys, it's not if, it's when, right? Cliches.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not if,
Yeah.
it's when. So let's be prepared for it, you know.
Yeah. It's making yourself bulletproof, right?
100%.
But even when that starts deteriorating, you get really beat up, right? Or unfortunately, there's always a bigger fish, right? And someone comes running at you from a Polynesian island, you're gonna get bounced. I'm sorry, mate, but it doesn't matter
It's
how big and
wild.
strong you
It's
are.
so cool.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, cool. Like if my fitness was all the way up here and I get injured, all right, I've got all this to wiggle with, right? It's the same as conversation I have with people in like a CrossFit gym, even just everyday folk, right? They come in as like, oh, well, I have the skill. Why can't it doesn't matter. Why do I need to progress through it? I was like, because you're basically this far away from it getting quite shady, you know, and if
Oh
you
yeah.
jack up that intensity, right, and all the volume, you're like two centimeters away from snapping your shit up.
And
And I'm
that's
like,
the hardest thing, is getting people to slow down.
slow
You
down,
know,
man. You
I'm
know,
like, chill, focus on what you're doing, control. Like, it's so important, because when you just move weight or do an exercise as fast as you can, add as much weight as you can, even if you don't feel like you're getting hurt, you are deteriorating. You know, your
mhm.
insides can't handle it, your muscle fibers can't handle it. It's
Joints,
so like specific in the way that we use our bodies for them to last as long as possible.
100%. I throw this exact point at everybody who wants to get into Olympic weightlifting, right? Like, I want to max out like every week, every day. I'm like, oh my, no, you're gonna do like a bunch of sets at 60 to 70%, and you're gonna go home. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, no, man, like that's
That's it.
basically it. You gotta earn the right for 12 weeks to get anywhere near 90%. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you're just not gonna
Yeah,
touch it.
that's why I tell everybody, it's like, you need a coach,
Mm.
you know, especially in jujitsu. You know, you see a lot of, and I guess a lot of sports now, you see a lot of CrossFit crossovers, you know? And I'm like, let's think about this for a second. CrossFit is a sport. Olympic weightlifting is a sport. I don't do basketball to get better at soccer. So why am I doing CrossFit to get better at jujitsu, you know, or to get better at rugby, or to get better at something else? You know, it's like, when CrossFit is a whole sport, or Olympic lifting is a whole sport, you're actually taking away from your sport, you know? Yeah, it might get you strong or whatever, but you're not giving yourself adequate rest as if you have something specifically programmed for your sport.
Mm.
And I tell people that a lot, and a lot of people like are like, oh, that makes so much sense. I'm like, yeah, it does make so much sense. It's like, do you know how to work out? No, that's why I went to CrossFit. Well, you didn't ask, why is that going to help my jiu-jitsu? You know what I mean? It's so important to be able to not only work out for your sport, but make sure it's proper and it's not taking away. Because like you said, Olympic weightlifting, if I go do a leg day that I need technically 3 days off from, and I go do jiu-jitsu those 3 days, I'm gonna get injured because I
Mhm.
did not give my leg. That's why, like, my athletes, it's always full body, because jujitsu is full body,
Mhm.
right? So I'm not gonna do a leg day if I don't have enough rest, because I'm gonna go use my legs in jujitsu. So like, all the workouts I do are about 25 to 45 minutes long.
See, this is why I think the whole fitness thing is so cool, right? Because you're just like, we're just moving pieces around and being like, okay, if I do more of this, this is going to suffer, but I'm going to get better over here, and then I'm going to adapt this as the year goes on, or as my goals change, right? When I'm like transitioning out of a sport, like I'm no longer competing in CrossFit, So I like to do weightlifting. So,
Right.
I'm not gonna just get up and run a marathon because I'm probably gonna like start pissing
I
coke.
did that before and I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks.
There you go, right? But if I was like conditioned, I could get up and do whatever and be like, yeah, yeah, fine. Don't worry about it. I got this.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got to
It's about doing
understand,
it the right way.
yeah, your body's an organic thing, right? It's going to adapt to the stimulus that you give it. And if you're
Yeah.
only playing ruggers, like, okay, great. Like, how can we then supplement that? What's your number one goal? If it's just
Mhm.
fitness that you need, yeah, fine. Just go do something, work a little bit of
Right.
cardio and you get better, right? But if it's like, oh no, I want to get specifically better at tight head prop, you're like, all right, man, like what you do is going to be a bit different to you, for
Gonna
example,
be
right?
huge. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's everything you do, it's the fitness, it's the diet, it's the rest, it's
Oh,
everything.
God. Yeah, all the boring stuff.
It's boring unless you make it like I tell people all the time, I'm like a robot, right? People think I have OCD, but I'm like, no, I just do everything the same way every single day. So I don't have to think.
Yep,
And
yeah,
then I
yeah.
have my brain and my energy to put into my clients, to put into my athletes, to put in my training.
I
It's like
get
I
that.
don't cook. I don't like my meals are prepped, my post workouts are prepped. Everything is ready for the week. Like the way I do laundry, the way I clean, everything is the same to
Mhm.
a point I literally don't think, and it's like, and I have all that time and energy to put into my work, to put into my training. So it's like, that's where people lose themselves too, or find it boring. Cause for me, I don't find it boring because I don't even think about it.
There's some beauty in that
Like when
though.
I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do cardio.
Mm.
When I get back, I start my eggs right on the stove. I go start the shower. I come back, I flip the eggs, I take my clothes off, put them in the washer already. I go shower, I come out, I eat. It's like, that's just how it works. Like I do the same exact thing, the same way, 5 days a week. The weekends I chill, but 5 days a week, and it's like people think I'm crazy. And I'm like, really? I'm smart
Yeah, I don't
because I
think
don't
that's
think,
crazy at all. I think people who think
yeah,
that crazy is either one hasn't found something that they're so passionate about where they would do it, or you'll do it, right? Like something that makes you fired up, or two, like they're just not the most dedicated of individuals, and that's fine. Prime, live your life how you want to live, but don't turn around and be like, oh, you're fucking crazy for doing that. I was like, nah, it's just the way the woman works. Like, let her do her thing.
whatever. I've been the same since I was like 4 years old on a
Yeah,
mission.
I gotta be careful. I get obsessed with things. I get really addicted to shit really easily. Like if I do something twice, it's already like I'm basically addicted to it. Like so I've got to like it's a fine balance of like, okay, if I go so hard down here, everything else is gonna fall to the
Yeah.
wayside. So it's like I also have to spin a lot of plates. So it's this weird balancing act. I think we're just crazy. I think that's what we've the answer we've come to here. We're just
Okay, fine.
absolutely
We're crazy.
unhinged.
It is what it is.
But fuck, I don't know any other way of living, it's a good
Yeah.
way. I
So
got a
good.
I got a question.
Yes.
What does leadership mean to you?
Leadership to me means less words and more action.
Hmm.
Less talk, more action. There's a lot of people who are really good with their words, and it fires you up in the moment. But then you're kind of waiting for, okay, I'm trying to follow you, but where are you going? What are you doing? What's happening? And I think we see that a lot more these days too, because we have platforms for it.
Hmm.
And there doesn't have to be as much backup, because the people following you don't actually ever see you, right? And I think it's important to just do. You don't have to, you shouldn't have to explain, you shouldn't have to talk if you're a leader almost. Of course, it comes hand in hand. Of course, it comes in a sense, okay, these people should respect me enough that what I say, they're going to give into, but it really all comes from what you do. And I think being a female in a couple different worlds that are very male dominant, it's like I had to learn that. It's like a leader is just more of an example, somebody who's a good example. It's like when I first got to Miami 6 years ago, I had already won a world title. I had already, graduated school with my degree, been doing the strength and conditioning stuff, but I would work out by myself. I would work out by myself. I would do my own thing. If somebody wanted to join, I would let them, and over time, it just started building. Like, okay, she's winning. Obviously, what she's doing must be working. And then Cyborg, who was my partner romantically at the time, it's like he started trusting that, and like that was a big deal for other people, because he's a leader. And that's the other thing too, is I think leaders are also people who start to blend together. I don't believe in one leader anywhere. That doesn't make sense. I don't think that's a real leader. I think leaders surround themselves with other leaders.
100%, I agree.
Right. I think that's super important. It's like, how do you continue to be the best leader you can be if you're not learning from somebody else?
100%.
So I would just start doing that, and then it turned into classes, and then it turned into like the pro training, strength and conditioning. And now, I have multiple different sports and multiple different teams, and people online and online programs, and so everything with leadership to me is just example. Because truthfully, actually, you don't need to speak to be a leader. That's a type of leader. That's something that you can also have a quality of. But there's some guys who are just really good competitors, and their presence on the mat leads the rest of the team.
It's that energy, right?
And then you have that person who then might get up in front and say something, so it's like leadership has to have example. I think the verbal part of it is a gift that some leaders have.
Yeah, I think you got to be able to control that energy, right? Especially if
Yeah,
it's
you have to be able to control people's energy, motivate people, have people trust you. I think that's super important with leadership. Like, a leader, I believe, is somebody who needs to be trusted, not just in a sense I want to do what they're doing, but I trust to be able to go to them for advice. I trust to be able to ask them for things. I trust their help. I trust what they say as well. So I think it takes it. I think there's a lot of things that go into being a leader.
I really resonated with the fact of, you said you don't think it's one person. Like, that's 120% me. Like, I got no time to play an ego game. Like, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll turn around and just go do my thing and go to a different room, and I think people just surrounding with themselves, with everybody else, like, right, how can I learn from you? And then how can I learn from you? And then how can you learn from me? And how can we better this thing in the middle here? One, connection, community, yada, 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 even in different sectors of work, right? And of life. We might not have to be in the fitness industry. It's like, okay, someone's an accountant. It's like, great. How can I learn from you? How can you learn from me? And then go off and help family and people that we see, right? Even just your barista who makes you fucking coffee in the morning. It's like, no, like, you're still either leading them astray or down a better path,
Yeah.
Yeah, I really fancy that.
Yeah. And like, that's the other thing too with leaders is leaders should be people who know that they can't do everything. They know that they aren't that. And like the accountant was a perfect example, or like mental health. It's like, I'm not going to go to my friend who doesn't really have her crap together and talk to her about how I'm feeling necessarily. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to seek out help, or I'm going to seek out, oh, I know that so-and-so just went through the same thing and they came out in a much better way, so I'm going to go talk to them. I think we lose that sometimes too. And I think that's really important as a leader, is like, okay, guys, if I'm talking about strength and conditioning and somebody wants to do CrossFit, I've never done CrossFit. I don't teach CrossFit, so it's like, I'm not going to say, if I have a client that comes in and wants to do CrossFit, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'll do that for you just because I want to get paid. It's like, no, this person is much better at that. Yep. I think leaders are also really good at delegating 100%. In that kind of sense of like, they should be able, like, if somebody comes and asks me for marriage advice and I've never been married, who am I to sit there and give them advice? It's like, you also have to be very humble being a leader and know, like, I don't know everything. And if I haven't experienced what you are going through, if you want my opinion, like, I'll give it to you. But I'm also always going to start with, hey, I've never been married before. So like, maybe from a spiritual standpoint, I can tell you my thoughts, my ideas, my opinions, maybe what's in the Bible, but like, I can't give you advice because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge aspect of a leader too.
Yeah, I agree again. Like, the amount of people that have come to me asking for bodybuilding specific programming, and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't know, bro. Like I could write you something up, it could get you jacked, it could get you lean, we all know the basics, but it's like, but this ain't my thing, man. You could get a better service two doors down the road. I would suggest you kind of, go knock on that door. If you want other things, yeah, maybe I'm the guy, but in this niche right now, not my thing, kind of.
Yeah, for
I'm happy
sure.
to answer any questions, give you my advice, whatever, but I'm like, I'm not going to be taking your dollars for this. Like, this isn't my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I have one of my like role models, a guy that I go to a lot for stuff. He's really successful business wise and everything. He has he pointed this out to me. He's like, I have a chart, he's here, there's his wife, and then here's a list of people he goes to for finances. Here's a list of people he goes to for mental health. Here's the people that goes to for physical health. Here, you know what I mean? So it's like it was a really good thing that he pointed that out, because it's like, of course we know that sometimes, but it's like, if you could put three people in these categories, it goes back to being crazy, right? Like, I don't think what I eat, I don't think what I do. It's like same thing. Okay, I'm having a financial crisis. Here's my three people. Let me call the first one, the second, okay, here's my relationship advice people. Let me call these people. Here's my spiritual guides. Let me call them. We all have our best friend that we call and say everything to and vent everything to. But again, that's under the vent list. You might not necessarily want their advice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, like that. It's just
Really cool
structuring your
idea.
life and keeping it simple in my eyes, like don't overcomplicate this shit. I was like, oh, how do I get there? But in a quarter of the time and without this. And I was like, no, man, just fucking walk forward. Just get a spoon and start digging a hole. It's that simple, just do
100%.
something. Keep it really friggin' simple. That's all it
Yeah.
is. I got another question.
I'm here for it, literally.
What have you motherfucker? What is the biggest thing you've learned from coaching?
Not everybody's going to like you.
Hmm. Why?
Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to listen to you. Not everybody's going to benefit, from you as a coach. Everything in life is about relationships, and it's never ending, and you have to make sure when you hit those bumps, when you hit those roads, you go to a different coach and ask how to deal with it if you haven't dealt with it,
Love it.
kind of like we were just talking about. um that's one of the biggest things I've ever learned. And sometimes you're going to get the people who don't like you, but they trust you and they're just going to do it, and that's easy. But then you're going to get the people who don't like you and they don't listen to you, and you can tell it's in one ear and out the other. And like, you just can't let that bring you down.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to let them fall on their face and then come back to you, because that's one thing. It's like, coach, I should be in that category for people. That's something I take a lot of pride in. That's something I have my degree in health, exercise, and sports sciences, but I did a focus in pedagogy, which is learning how to coach.
Mhm.
And I'm somebody too. I don't fight. I don't fight that. I let people go. And if they come back, great. If not, I hope they found someone in that they mesh better with.
Hmm.
I can only do my best and give my best for those who want it. The people who don't want it, that's okay. And if they leave, they leave. And if they come back, I always let them come back. It
Yeah, of
happens to me a
course.
lot, again, especially with being a female in a very male dominant world, you know,
Yeah.
not world, and especially with what I do, and it's like, I let them go. And when they come back, and I don't say I told you so, I open the door, I let them back in, and I'm like, trust me,
Hmm.
just trust me. That's all I need. So it's definitely like the biggest thing I've learned in coaching is not everybody's going to like you. And you're not going to be the coach for everybody.
Hmm. I have to admit, I have seen people not buy in simply because the coach is a woman. And it just,
100%.
it fucking winds me up something rotten. Like the amount of times I pulled someone aside, I was like, would you fucking do that with me? I'm northern, right? So I kind of say things are probably a bit too straight, but whatever. Would you fucking
That's all
do
right.
that
You
with
have
me?
to sometimes.
So don't fucking do it with her, right? And you see it over time, and you kind of try and give a little bit of advice to fellow coaches and just be like, oh, this person's a bit difficult, whatever. This person's maybe I got this personality type, right? And you just stick with it, man. Just stick with it. And I have to admit, every time I've seen a female coach stick with it, when they've got an awful amount of shit at the beginning, they have cracked that nut, and it's just unbelievable. You just
Yeah.
like the relationship you've got with the people in the class, how the things flow in, how you're just controlling the energy in the room. I'm just like, this is rad. I think this is art form at its finest, and I just want to watch. Like it's so cool, man.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah, I have a funny story about that. One of my athletes, Wagner Rocha. Do you follow? No, not so much. Okay, he's like one of the best in the world right now. And when I moved to Miami 6 years ago, Cyborg was opening a new gym, right? And he was that's where my space is now. The space that I have now is in that gym, and this guy Wagner, he was like, oh yeah, you should do like girls boot camp classes. Like that's what my wife does. And I just sat there and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Fast forward 3 years later, he's now been one of my athletes for 3 years. But that's
Wow.
how I do it. I'm like, I don't fight it. I don't try to, like I said, for me, it's not about the talking. It's like I show up, I do my job, I serve. I was telling my boys this the other day because I also manage the gym here, and we had a team meeting, and I have, I think, 10 guys, that work underneath me that I oversee. And I was talking to them about that yesterday. When people think you're like serving, and living your purpose and all of that, they think charity, they think fundraising, they think, donating their time, they think all these things. I'm like, no, not necessarily. It's about finding your purpose and serving people through that community, like doing those types of things, and that's something that I'm really big on, and I told them, I go, a lot of the opportunity that I get is just because people see me working and they kind of know I'm working and not getting paid for it also. I think that's kind of something that goes into leadership as well too, is just doing the time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that, especially like I think with females, especially in the world we are now, there's a lot of like loud feminism and cool, but like what is posting on your Instagram? What is sharing a meme? What is all of that going to do? For me, it's like, I don't like the all women's classes. I don't teach an all women's class, in jujitsu, because I believe when it's equality, how are we going to separate all women?
I am
That has
totally with
never
you.
made sense to me. That will never make sense to me. Like, I'm never going to be the person. I like to show females how powerful and strong they can be by leading and leading to the point where I have men following me.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is equality. That to me is being a strong female. That to me is what I want to show younger women is like, hey, sometimes shut your mouth and just work. If somebody has a question, if the time to talk is talk, go for it. But shut your mouth
Mm-hmm.
and show how strong females can be and how powerful females can be, and that females can be leaders in a very male dominant world.
Yeah, so simply put, like nothing replaces hard work. Nothing.
Never.
Like you can't
Never.
replace it. Like just put the fucking time in, put the work in.
100%.
Do the fucking work. I say it more like so many times that usually to the younger lads because they try and like bitch and complain, oh whatever. And I was like, nobody cares. Do the fucking work.
Nobody cares.
Nobody, the grand scheme of things, nobody cares. You know,
Nobody cares.
the wolf is always scratching at the end of the day, and sometimes you got to say it bluntly, right? But it's true.
Oh
Just
yeah.
get up, just work. Show me, show me. I've said this at every interview for the past maybe 10 years, maybe 8 years. Of like I've sat down every interview I've ever had, probably the wrong thing to say, but again, I'm only going to be myself. Of like, I don't believe what you tell me, I believe what you show me. And I'm the one asking for the friggin' job, right? But I'm the one that turns around and goes, I don't believe what you tell me. I believe what you show me. And I'm willing to do that. So we're either going to sit here and talk all night. If you want to hear me talk, I do something called a podcast. Fucking go on there.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
not, let me do my work.
100%. My favorite line is oh, I'm back. You should never have to be back. You should never go anywhere.
Mm.
It goes back into like the whole never stopping thing, especially like in fitness. Oh, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Oh, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Oh, I'm back. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Do
I
something,
don't want
man.
to hear.
Something's better than nothing. Pick up friggin' Zumba or step class. I don't care. Like,
I
just
don't care
wave
what it
your
is.
arms
Yeah.
around. I just don't care, man. Just do something. Go outside. Go literally dig holes. That's all I do. Just dig holes, chop wood. It's like,
Yeah.
great, you're moving. Good job. Like, it's in a different pace, different fucking avenue.
Doesn't
It's just
matter as long as
whatever,
you're doing
man.
it.
Just do something, bro. I'm just
Okay.
picturing just going outside, just waving my arms around now, getting a sweat on. But maybe that's my new fitness venture.
There you go.
Fuck, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna miss the Bible too much. Maggie, I appreciate you so much.
Of
Like,
course.
it's always an absolute honor to just talk to people, and I just want to say thank you for holding the space to have the conversation.
No, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
I'm gonna have to get over to Miami and literally get my ass kicked.
Please do.
Like
Please do.
100%. I'm in anything fitness. I'll fucking give it a go. Like,
Whenever
great.
you're here, you have a home.
All right. I'll let you know whenever I get over the pond. Maybe I just get that yellow rubber dinghy out and just start paddling.
There you go. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes. There you go. Fitness.
Awesome.
Again, appreciate it. You have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Appreciate you too. Have a great day.
Cheers, guys. Bye,
All
everybody.
right.